Hi, I'm Stefan, product lead at Avassa. I will now describe and demonstrate one of the most prominent features of the Avassa system, namely the capability of having edge sites running autonomously. We have designed the Avassa system from day one to be edge native. That means that we assume many edge sites, we assume that we have very limited resources on the edge sites, and as well, sites are disconnected, they come and go, they have low bandwidth, shaky networks. We have solved that by using a number of principles. Whenever you deploy an application to the edge site, all the images are cached locally, so restarting doesn't have to reach out to a public registry again to get the images. Amongst the hosts within the cluster, everything is replicated, so secrets, images, states are replicated, so if one host fails, any one of the other guys can take over. And all of those decisions are taken locally on the site. The edge enforcers form a local cluster with its own control loop, and no information is needed outside the site to take any healing actions. And I will demonstrate that through the system now. So now let's see that edge cluster from the control tower while it's still connected. So we have the offline cluster now being online. It has 3 hosts and it's running the visitor counter application. If we dig down into the visitor counter application, we can see on which host it's running. So that service instance is running on edge host 12. So remember that number 12, it's the host we're going to play with. So now I'm locally on that site, can connect to the individual hosts. I have a shell here towards host 11, 12 and 13, which I did show you through the control tower previously. Checking Docker PS on host 11, it's just the Avassa component that is running there. However, if we go to host 12, we can see that this is where that actual application container is running, which we deployed. And we can validate here as well on 13 that it's not there. So, steady state running at host 12. Before starting to disconnecting and crashing things, I would like to illustrate another important feature for disconnected sites. So far in the videos we've been using the web UI. We also have a very powerful command line which you can use from any connected site. But in this case, since we're going to go offline, we'll show you that you can run the Avassa command line towards your disconnected site since you're a local admin. Just to illustrate that here, so in the command line I'm doing now, I'm logged in to the edge enforcer running on the site, and I'll show you a couple of commands. We can start with looking at the visitor counter application here, locally on the site. There are a couple of interesting things that we already know. So this is all the information about the application, its containers, its state, but again, we can see that it's running on that edge host 12. We can also check on the cluster. So we can do a... Here I did ask for the local cluster to check which are the hosts and the corresponding information, and we can see the host name and the operational state. They're all up. You can add a fields parameter here and say host name, opersales. Gives you summary. So this is current state. Let's start to fail things, but before failing, disconnect. So I'm disconnecting my site from that network now. So at this point in time, there is no connection to the control tower. We are just running locally. So let's see how that looks from the control tower perspective. We see that offline cluster here with the disconnected icon. We see some other information being a little bit grayed out. So the approach we've taken here, that being disconnected is not an error. That is sometimes a normal state. So at all times in control tower, we show the latest known state for the state that we have, but it's clearly indicated by dotted line, so you know that it's not really up to date. So we're not really sure what's going on out there. This is the last known state, but you can rest assured that that local site is running edge enforcers. They do the local control loop and they make sure that the applications run well. So we turn off to that now. So now we're disconnected, no connection to the central component, the local cluster, and we have all 3 hosts up and running and the edge enforcer running on each of the hosts. What I'll do now is that I stop host 12. Remember that application was running on host 12 and it's a VM, so I just stop the VM here. So that was stopped, meaning that container is now not running, or it has already restarted at any of the other hosts. So the edge enforcers within the cluster, they communicate with each other. They will detect that host 12 is gone, and since they replicate state, they also know that that application needs to be running somewhere else. So let's see if something has happened already. Yes, that was quick. So now I turn to host 11. We can see that it actually has picked up the application. And note, well, very important, that was on another host, but since the edge enforcer caches and replicates images, etc., that host could restart the application without reaching out for the images from a central location, which of course didn't work, or ask the host where it actually crashed. Of course it couldn't reach that image as well. So that is super important in order to self-heal the applications on the site. So we're back in shape from an application point of view. That container is running on host 12, which we can validate if we would like to by the same commands here. So we can first of all check the cluster. We can see that host 12 now is down while the other 2 are up. Let's check the application visitor counter. We can see that that guy is now running on host 11 instead. And now let's turn back to the control tower again. So we are connected again. The control tower can reach out to the edge site and see the situation. And you see exactly what happened here, that edge host 12 is down as indicated here. We can turn to the applications. We can see the visitor counter. Let's remember that moved from one host to another. So navigating down here to the application, and we can see that it's now running on host 11. It was previously running on the other host, but now it turned back to host 11, and that state is then of course updated here in the control tower. So all of that information is resynchronized when connection is established again. What we can do now is to restore the situation. I'm starting the VM again to get green lights, and we're back in shape again. That concludes this offline capabilities demo. Thank you.